Hello, everybody. Hey, Barry Lee. Thank you for sticking around, and hope you're well as well. And thank you for all that you've done. I don't mean to make it sound like the beginning of a post mortem. It's not. not, not at all. Not in the, as I say, not in the least. Right? That's not the case here. Um, what is? I think you asked. Oh, Barely just asked me a question. You said we're live now. We're live right now. I have I started not to come on mainly because I have been tending to my mom, and that's the way that goes. It and on that note, I want to thank, if they ever, anyone from Kaiser ever sees this, I want to thank Kaiser for all their help at all of the various places that we've been to today. It has been quite quite a what am I trying to say? Quite a weekend. It started on Thursday. Yeah, it started on Thursday, and it mom is, I can say his mom is better. Mom is better, and I am happy. There, I am. Mom is better, and I'm happy. Right. So, the working backward. If you, Barry Lee, if you're gonna tweet this out, which I appreciate, it would be hashtag NFL, hashtag Raiders, um, hashtag Oakland. Yeah, forgot about that. Hashtag Oakland. Can't forget about Oakland, right? Oh, you have a little delay there. I see. I forget about that. There's like something like a 2 minute delay, 3 minute delay, something like that. It's a lot longer than a second delay, that's for certain. Yeah, but nonetheless, it's a delay, right? It's a delay. Um, and which is kind of cool sometimes. Now, Bradley, what's new with you? How are things going in your neck of the woods? What's happening? Give me a report. How's the new job? How you are you enjoying it? I'm gonna wax on before I get into meaty stuff. I vowed I would have more of exchanges, right? Hey, Richard Ray Archuleta from shows you how tired I am. I was gonna say from San Diego, but no, he's from Seattle. Um, but Barry Lee, how are you doing? How's your health? Because yeah, how's your health? I'd like to know. And Richard Ray, what's the latest going on in Seattle? You guys gonna get an arena anytime soon? Or in the future, try to steal somebody's NBA team, maybe like OKC, the OKC Thunder. Thank you, Barry. Much appreciated. Okay, welcome to Zennie62. Those of you who are just popping in, I'm going to get started and first of all talk about something I talked about earlier in the week. It's been a hell of a week. I went to the NFL owners meeting. Originally, oh, Richard Way says you were doing the Key Arena. Wow. And I wanted to, anyway, I went to the NFL owners meeting in Orlando. Took my mom, but I wanted her to meet NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell, who I've known for a long time, but I never got a chance to introduce Roger to my mom. And I wanted to take my mom to the commissioner party, or really it's the NFL annual reception, which is always that Monday night. But her knee issues and her pains had started the week before, and they just got worse. So I couldn't do that, and I went, left early compared to the year before, and that was an emotional time, just because she was in a lot of pain, and thankfully she was in a hotel there, and that worked out. But that was hard. That was hard. So Um, on the business side of things, I really have a great deal of respect for Rick Spielman. He's the general manager of the Minnesota Vikings. We talked for a long time, and not about football. We talked about family. We talked about race. Barry Lee says, "Tell your mom." I said, "Get well, I'll do that." Um, we talked about race because he has four African American kids, all special needs kids, and one of them, whose name I'm going to leave out of this conversation just for out of respect for her, um, I had the pleasure of meeting, and Rick is white. If you had never seen a picture of Rick Spielman, and his wife as well, and they, because of their decision, and it was their decision. It was really his wife had spearheaded it, and he went along because of uh, their decision. They have a perspective on blacks in America that is really quite special. And it started because I asked him a direct question about what it was like to be a white parent of black kids. Because I don't know. I'm not white. And, I'm not, although I'd love to be a father, but he talked a lot about, and I think it's fair to share this. I don't think I'm saying anything that's out of school. He talked a lot about how he's gotten heat from both whites and blacks in the past, which I think is really sad, you know, that this is 2018, and yet there are people who are still wired in a way where they can't see that, frankly speaking, there's no such thing as race, and that he made a decision, an active decision. They made an active decision to take care of kids who needed parents. Not parenting, but parents, people who love them, who are willing to spend time with them, okay, to take care of them when they needed the most, to raise them, to praise them, to love them, to reprimand them when needed, in the proper fashion, of course. That's a big responsibility, huge responsibility. So I can't say enough about the level of respect I have for Rick Spielman, and I feel I found a new friend in the Vikings GM, and I really wish him well. That was a heck of a conversation to have, and the spread itself was fantastic. It really was. Uh, Regarding Mark Davis and his response to me, that was not the first time he's done that. It was just in terms of, for those of you who don't understand what I'm talking about, and this is the first time you're seeing it. Davis was coming out of the NFL owners meeting on Tuesday for recess, and there was a gaggle of media people, including myself, waiting for him. I had the camera going, but he clearly did, just tried to ignore me. He saw I was there, and then it came around, and what happened was I got a phone call from my mom, and he just said, "You know what? I don't want to talk to you. I want to talk to them privately." And I was like, "Oh." And he did that before in Houston in a modified sense. Houston, when we were there for the NFL Spring League meeting, that was late 2016. And what happened was that um, then I remember John Clayton had come up. This is before the vote, of course. The vote occurred in 2017. John Clayton had came upstairs to the Marriott in Houston, and as he came up, he was humming the Raider theme song by Del Courtney. He was humming it to me because he knows, trying to get want the Raiders to stay in Oakland, all that stuff. And it's kind of a teasing thing with us, right? Clayton and I. And who's a great guy. He and his wife are fantastic. His wife's going through her own health challenges. Anyway, um, so, and I pause because it's sad on that part as well. He's going through a lot too. So, I went downstairs to talk to Mark just to catch up, or ask him. And I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to talk to you. And he, you know, turned his back like this, like no, no. He actually almost cowered in a position, right? Hey, Joseph Binsman, I should have said Happy Easter if I didn't say so before. Happy Easter. And happy Passover, by the way, to everybody. Um, and Rob Iman, how you doing? And Black Lion Supreme, how are you? One Love Raider Nation. Now, anyway, uh, as I was saying, for those of you who just arrived, the I was talking about how Mark Davis said he didn't want to talk to me. It wasn't the first time he said that, okay, to me. But the difference between when he said it in Houston in October of 2016 at the NFL's Fall League meeting, and this time was I had a camera running, and he wasn't yelling. This time he yelled, and but in both instances I thought it was disrespectful because it's not just then, but it's the latest in a line of episodes with the Raiders I've had going back a long time where they've been disrespectful. And when I was trying to pitch the Super Bowl on behalf of Oakland, which would have put $4 million of street Super Bowl ticket value in the pockets of the Raiders, I went to the older Mr. Davis, rest in peace, Al Davis, and he thought I was a reporter. He didn't know that I was pitching the Super Bowl. And he goes, "No, I don't want to talk to you. No reporters. And I tried to go back. He goes, "No, no, get away from me." And I thought, oh, okay. So I went on about my business. And then, of course, I had to read in the press about, well, Bruce Allen in particular, who was the Raiders' senior assistant, essentially bad-mouthing what I was doing. Now, it wasn't always that way with the Raiders. And I can thank the late LoCasio. I believe he's still, unless he's still with us, but I can thank LoCasio for that. LoCasio was Al Davis' executive assistant. He was Al Davis' right-hand man during the early days. And if you ever see the famous Sea of Hands play, if you remember the Sea of Hands play, if you're a Raider fan, if you're a true Raider fan, you remember the Sea of Hands play. Or you don't remember, you know about it, okay? But there's a guy who's white-haired, a little on the heavy side, white, older, and he's pumping his fist like that. And he does that, and his hair flies. That's LoCasio, okay? So it was LoCasio that befriended me first when I was a columnist for the Montclarian, having background in urban planning. Think about that, right? And welcome back from Concord, Rob. And we had a fantastic relationship. He quite literally followed me from being a columnist to the mayor's aide, to Elihu Harris when I became his economic advisor. And then he called me one day in 1996 and said, "I have a project for you. We want to bring back this is because the Raiders had just returned from LA to Oakland. He said, we want to bring back the 4-night Raider preseason game, only we don't want it to look like it came from us." Okay? And this is a story I may have told before, but it's worth telling again in context. And so that's how I met Roger Goodell originally by phone, because of LoCasio and a number of people from the NFL. And it started in '93 first with the Raiders, but in '96 with LoCasio and Goodell, that laid the foundation of relationships that allowed me to come within 8 NFL owner votes and bring in the 2005 Super Bowl to Oakland. A few years later, we lost to Jacksonville. So, but those were the times when I had great relationships with the Raiders. I was even a Raiderette judge, although they didn't like my taste. And my taste was to pick a woman who tended to be on the tall side, athletic, and degreed. In that, if you were, for example, a lawyer or ran your own business and were like over 5'7", you got a 10 from me. But the kind of woman they wanted us to pick, I got the impression, a number of occasions, was shorter, much shorter, and not fat. Okay, it was a lot of fun to do that because you got a chance to see at the time a slice of society life that gives you a lot of different angles of how society is. And so anyway, I remember George Atkinson and I were both among the judges, and George and I are friends to this day. And George, every time someone would come up, a woman would come out who was 5'7" or more, and uh, I didn't get that link, Barry. I think, oh, that's right. I didn't get a chance to look at it. I have to say, I've been really focused on my mom, so there's a lot that I haven't done or seen over the past. This is Sunday, going back Sunday, Saturday, Friday, Thursday. My mom has been my singular focus, and I have only made, with respect to what I talk about here, videos saying, "Hey, I'm not going to be able to focus on that," right? Uh, so, or anything else. But my mom has been my singular focus. Is going to be for quite some time. She always has been. That's why I've been here. That's why I'm here. Okay, and that's why I have to say that on that note. That's why I got angry for people making fun of me being here. So, and if it were legal for me to do so, I would hurt those people. It's not legal, so I have to be careful with what I say. but but you should, everyone's going to be in a position where they have to take care of and help their parents at some point, and this separates the adults from the kids. Okay, it's just simply straight out. Does even if you are watching this, you happen to be 16. At some point, you're going to be in a position where you have to take care of your folks. You don't, and as far as I'm concerned, you don't have a moral choice. Okay, this is something you're supposed to do. So anyway, the as far as the Raiders and everything else, those were great times with LoCasio, and that's how I met Commissioner Roger Goodell, who was before, not the commissioner at the time, was Paul Tagliabue, and but Al LoCasio taught me all the NFL politics I know to this day, and the NFL has always been an organization that nice to you to death. They're, even if they didn't want you to do something, they were just nice about it. Or like for example, Jim Stieg. Fast forward to when I was trying to bring the Super Bowl to Oakland, we had only gained 7,811 hotel room contracts back. We needed 15,000 rooms. And the problem was that Jerry Brown, who was the mayor at the time, did not sign on. He was actually working against me and Robert Bob, and telling people, like a group of business people from China, hey, we can't accommodate the Super Bowl. We don't have enough hotels. Even as I had created a plan around something called Jack London's NFL Playland, which is the forerunner for Super Bowl City concept of today. That's required in the NFL bid book for Super Bowl. Okay, uh, he was just basically making my life hard for me, so I had to deal with that. um, and so, but during that time, we were also in a lawsuit with the Raiders after they returned. This was 1999, and that's when the the bad treatment started, and the comments that I considered to be personal, but I just chose to overlook them. So, but in various ways over the years, it was, and I caution anybody who's connected with Vegas, who um, uh, um, I'll get to your comment in a second, babe. Barry Lee was saying, I saw online where the rent is so high in San Francisco that not even McDonald's can remain. They closed one location already. Yeah, that's a big problem. But at any rate, the this over the years since then, I caution anyone who's in Vegas who believes they have an in with the Raiders, and I say this to Scott Winter, who may watch this at some point, if not now, I don't know. But be careful, okay? Because my experience is that if the organization, the Raiders cozy up to you, it's because they need something. But the test of the Raiders is when they don't need that something anymore from you. And in my personal experience, that test has not gone well all the time with respect to uh, the higher up executives. I say that for this reason. There are a lot of people on the Raider organization and a lot of alums that I know and have a great deal of respect for, and in some cases love. And like Morris Bradshaw, always a friend. Okay, uh, I understand Will Kiss, who's the PR director right now, PR representative, not director, but I consider Will a friend, and I understand that he has a hard job with respect to how Mark Davis chooses to treat me and all that, and it is a choice, um, and I understand that. But let me tell you something, okay? This is now speaking in general terms. The problem with a lot of people who go to bat for a sports organization to test the sports organization is they tend to want a lot from you. If you don't want to work for them, do not want to work for them. If you do, under most circumstances, you're going to be offered a crap wage. Barry Lee asks, my question is when the Raiders need the other NFL owners for the Vegas project, will the NFL be there for them? Now, that's a great question. And as I look at it with respect to how the Raiders and the Rams are dealing with things, uh, the Rams got to receive a debt limit increase very recently because there was a report that their stadium was just at $4.8 billion. I question that part of the report mainly because the writer who put that out there uh, combined the retail and entertainment part of Stan Kroenke's development with the stadium and took it as one enchilada, which then doesn't give you an accurate picture of what the stadium itself really costs. So I'm going to go with, 3.2 billion dollar cost until I can get my hands on the actual paperwork or something I can trust. Okay. Um, and so, hey, Kevin KD, he says, I still can't think of a logical explanation for this Las Vegas relocation. Still confused. I believe it has to do with Jerry Jones and it has to do with Mark Davis not wanting to be in Oakland. Look, I said it last week. I'll say it again. The Raiders simply don't like Oakland. Okay? The Raiders simply don't like Oakland. That's and that just sticks out. The Raiders have never embraced Oakland. Think about it. It's like not in the way that the A's under Dave Cavallo have embraced Oakland. Um, and consider this: the Raiders have had every occasion to petition the NFL for $200 million loan during their time in Oakland, and still do. Okay, but never have put money into upgrading the Coliseum. Nothing, and yet they've asked for a really, really sweet lease deal, which flies in the face of what is convention, especially when you're considering that across the bay, the 49ers are paying $24.5 million in rent. Okay, so Kevin KD says the Raiders not liking Oakland is like the Steelers not liking Pittsburgh, or the Cowboys not liking Dallas, or the Giants not liking New York, except that neither the Steelers nor the Cowboys nor the Giants are trying to leave their cities. So, okay, so it's unique, it's different, and it's sad because the city of Oakland, contrary to what some of the league may say as a PR cover, really has tried to work with the Raiders over the years. The only I can understand that the Raiders may be upset over what have been some immature relationships between the city and the county starting like 2014, but the Raiders could have simply cleared those decks by having their own developer, by having their own concrete idea of what they wanted in the stadium, hiring an architect to show that, rather than setting up the city to consistently present something uh, and then just being there like Nero to thumb up or thumb down. They didn't do that in the case of San Diego in 2014. And this has been a case of the Raiders trying to find a way out since 2014. And basically, Mark saying, okay, well, I'm going to work on Las Vegas, and then I'm going to work on Carson. I don't get Carson, I'm going to focus on Vegas. And then here comes Sheldon Adelson saying, hey, look, I'll pony up X, and then here comes Jerry Jones to help cement that relationship, not just for the mainly for what he believed would be an excellent marriage between Sheldon Adelson, Mark Davis, the Legends hospitality business that Jones is partnered with the Yankees in, and in an area that is known for its glitz and glamour, which I think can fool a lot of people. It really can. Um, and it Barry Lee says, I don't care what people say, but Oakland has the corporate sponsors Vegas doesn't have enough of and won't cause this small market. Well, yeah, well, people make that mistake too. Oakland's at the center of the Bay Area. The Bay Area is 3 times larger than this Las Vegas Valley metropolitan area. If you have a smart TV and you go to the bottom where you have different websites that you can plug into, like Facebook and YouTube, and right there, that's the Bay Area. Facebook, Mountain View, YouTube in San Bruno. Netflix has offices in San Francisco. That's on there. So that's on every TV that's sold around the world, and that's an expression of Bay Area economic power that Las Vegas can't even match. Okay, so but in order for someone to understand that, they have to be of that mindset, and Mark is not of that mindset. He just isn't. And Kevin KD says, Donut says, is it too late to Sheldon Adelson to present? I don't understand that question, Donut. Kevin KD says, I mean no disrespect with these comments, but the A's, in my opinion, do not have the kind of cachet that the Raiders or even the Warriors have. I would much rather have the Raiders than the A's. Kevin KD, I disagree. I want to have the Nexus. I want to have the Raiders, the A's, and the Warriors. I don't like the idea of having to make a choice. And to me, in economic development, that's a bad idea to begin with. And I think that's where the Mayor Schaaf made it. Libby, I think it's where my god sister made a mistake, where she made a comment she shouldn't have made about baseball being essentially more economically viable than football. It was clumsy, but she did it. Okay, and that's in the past. You should never. And if you're just going to go into economic development, if you're wondering what good economic development is, you don't play triage. You get it all. You don't say, well, I don't want you, but I want that person. That's a bad thing to do. All right, it just is. Donut says, to purchase the Raiders. What I wrote was a very April Fool's story, but it's rooted in reality. And the realities are these. First of all, Adelson originally was going to, and this is true, arrange it so that his kids would wind up owning the Raiders should the Raiders come to Las Vegas. A. B. Senate Bill 1, which is the Bible around which all the documents that are approved by Las Vegas Stadium Authority written, has it to where no one has to tell you what kinds of financial arrangements are made. That's written in there. Now, as to whether or not that's constitutional is another question. It hasn't been challenged. All right? And so, yeah, Joseph Bismuth says, I'm just curious, is the newest hockey team to Oakland, San Jose? Yeah, the Sharks. And Kevin KD says, so what is Forever Oakland's next move with the completion of the documents? Well, there's no relationship between them, okay? And that's one thing I want to caution with people. The problem with this entire episode is there's an idea that, well, okay, they completed the documents and therefore everything is dead. And no, if anything, it's just the reverse. My video was a shout out to Steve Hill, who deserves a great deal of congratulations for what he's done. It's a lot of fun watching them, but the way I responded at the tail end had to do with how I was treated by the Raiders. That presentation I made would have been there regardless of what the Las Vegas Stadium Authority did. Now, in terms of suits and discussions, that's up to the city and the county. Larry Reed says he wants nothing to do with the Raiders. The A's have come forward saying, hey, we'll pay to defease your bonds. But there is that matter of the loan, that quote non-recourse loan, which really is recourse, ballooning now at almost 160 million, which is based on $64 million in money we gave the Raiders as a payment, which was a lousy mistake, but we did it to get them to come back from Los Angeles to Oakland. Donut says we need to form a commission. I agree. Rick Gray says Mark Davis is playing everyone in Oakland. Why are we playing along? This man has no loyalty. Why should they renew the lease after 2018? I agree. The Raiders should get out. Rick Gray says, what economic impact do the Raiders have for Oakland? In their current design, none. And I'm just being candidly honest about it. The whole point of Coliseum City was to, I don't know if you tuned in when Steve Lowe was on, but the whole idea was to bring retail and have a way of capturing the many thousands of fans at the Coliseum, be they visiting the Coliseum to watch the Raiders, the A's, the Warriors, Britney Spears concert, you name it, right? Katy Perry, you know, 2 Chainz, doesn't matter. The whole point is there's nothing there. And the problem is that only a handful of people have gone over to make the trek or down Hagenberger to have anything to eat. You have leakage. What I mean by that is you have people leaving in their cars to go from where they came from. You have people leaving on BART to do the same thing. But a modern Coliseum City with hotels, restaurants, shops, a few condominiums, that would have every edifice way of capturing dollars that can then be used by the city of Oakland to provide services. That's economic development. The Coliseum wasn't designed to be a good economic development generator. Okay, so because of that, the Raiders don't have an economic impact to speak of now. What they bring is a potential, and this is where any possible lawsuit could have to focus, is potential economic development. Because the Raiders have to be thought of as what's called an anchor tenant in shopping center parlance. What's an anchor tenant? An anchor tenant is a brand, say Sears or Macy's or Neiman Marcus, that when you build a shopping center, you have at the end of a shopping center of your spine so that it draws people to walk along the end corridors and go to the smaller outlets to shop. They're your anchors. They're the so the Raiders, comparatively speaking, and the A's, the Warriors serve as anchor tenants in what is a sports shopping, or has the potential to be, if it's Coliseum City, a sports shopping mall. Okay, so Kevin KD says, so basically Forever Oakland can't sue only the city and the county. I didn't say that. And Kevin KD, I didn't say that at all. At all. You asked me what the next steps for Forever Oakland are, and I'm saying that after the documents, and I'm saying to you there's no connection between the two. So first of all, you have to please remove from your head the idea that there's a connection between what Forever Oakland does and what the Las Vegas Stadium Authority did. I know it's a leap, but you have to divorce yourself quite literally from what I call media points. You hear about something, it's an end point to, in this case, documents being reviewed, and therefore you believe, for your own reasons, that it's connected with any potential lawsuit, and it's not. It's not. There's nothing there. It's not like, someone created the idea that they're connected. In reality, there is no connection. Look at St. Louis. St. Louis, it took them 2 years plus to sue the Rams, and here they are. There's no connection, okay? And that lawsuit's going well. So there's no connection, all right? So Kevin KD, you say you misunderstood. I got you, cool. Right. No, it's good to ask questions, because if you don't ask questions, you don't know, right? And so as far as, again, anyone in this business, including you, can sue, can file a lawsuit. You're not stopped by anything other than jurisdiction, and there are ways around that. So, if that's something you want to do, now the question is, can the city gain from the answer right now? Yeah, I mean nothing has changed. Okay, if nothing has changed, except one thing is that the Raiders have lost an ally, me, that want them here, and I'm looking forward to this year. John Gruden's I consider a friend. I gave him a play. That's how I look at it. Although I think he's making some mistakes in terms of personnel decisions of late, but I'll root for him. I'll root for the John Gruden coached Raiders. But I feel that the Raiders have done a disservice to Oakland. And yeah, if you're watching this and saying, "Oh, it's because of the way you were treated," yeah, it is. I'm only human. That's the way that is. It doesn't speak for the rest of the NFL or anything else. But I'm going to tell you something, okay? When you are dealing with somebody in media like me, what the Raiders should have done is sold me on what they were trying to do. The only people in this entire process who are trying to sell me on anything are, and I mean in Oakland, including Ronnie Lott, and in Las Vegas, are the representatives of Clark County. And I don't want to name their names because I don't want somebody watching this to give them, call or whatever. But the people I have come to know over the past 2.5 years, so thereabouts, are fantastic, good people that I look forward to meeting and having dinner with and everything else, in the coming times, right? They're really good people, and they're honorable people. They listen. We traded ideas. I have tried to help them as much as I can. And that's involving the Raiders. I'm being honest, because they have enough respect for me to ask me questions, and they recognize that my background is very unique, which something is the Raiders have not done, and a lot of other people. So I'm only human. You're nice to people who are nice to you. You don't let people walk over you or insult. I don't care who they are or who they think they are. But with Mark Davis and the Raiders, I remember, the first time I was introduced to him was by Jared Bell, and that was 2013 at the Spring League meeting in Boston. And, you know, seemed like a nice person wearing pinstripes. I wanted to talk with him. He said, fine. I didn't talk with Mr. Davis at the time, Mark, uh, long enough to get an impression of him. The second time was in Buckhead at the NFL Spring League meeting, and I went up to shake his hand, and Mark Bedane grabbed me by the shoulder like this, like, stay away, like he was security or something. And I looked at Mark and I said, Mark, we're like family. Why are you doing that? And he goes, oh, yeah. I said, it's Zennie. I said, oh, yeah. It's a bizarre exchange. And then Mark said, I was going to talk to him. I was introducing myself, and I wanted to talk with him about what I'd done in the Super Bowl. And he goes, I don't care about the past. That's what he said to me. I don't care about the past. So I didn't say anything. And he said, I have $400 million for a stadium. And then I listened to him talk about how he's going to finance it. I said, have you gotten a response from the city? And at the time, he said he had not gotten one from the city of Oakland, and that they were working on something, words to that effect. And then he asked me who I thought he should back for the mayor's race, and I told him his ranked choice voting. I said he should play it safe. He should do Brian Parker, Libby Schaff, and Joe Tuman. And the reason why I had Libby number 2 is because, I was the one in 2009 of May who said to Libby, you should run for mayor. And then she ran for council and won the District 4 seat, but did not. And then when I asked her, after Brian Parker asked me to support him, even prior to that, asked me to work for him in communications, I turned him down. But I said, I need to clear something with Libby because she's my god sister. Clear this. And she told me at the time, I'm not running for mayor. Then a few months later, she changed her mind, but she didn't tell me. By that time, I made a political commitment to Brian Parker. When you make a political commitment to someone, you don't jump ship for whatever reason and go the other way, right? And that's why I said to Mark Davis, hey, Libby should be your number 2. So Davis took that, and we, that's the only really decent conversation, though short, we've had. And I took that when he told me about the 400 million. I scooped the NFL Network by 2 hours. As soon as we finished our conversation, I rushed to the conference room and press conference room, and I made the report that, hey, the Raiders say they have 400 million, got it out there, got it ahead of the NFL Network. It was like, it was hilarious. The reactions were hilarious, and I think that's where I put myself on the map. But so and so basically the let's see here. And Black Lion says, I will be a fan of the Raiders until they move to Vegas. Until then, I'm done. Barry Lee says, respect, plain and simple. You have to give it in order to get it. And Davis lost it in my mind. And Kevin KD, this is interesting. This is probably the best comment right now so far. He says, it just feels like Edelson helped Mark Davis get away with grand larceny. And, Joseph Joe Lopez, excuse me, says that he's already done with the Raiders in the NFL. No more being a Raider season ticket holder for me. Yeah, Mark Davis, how many Raiders season ticket holders are there in total? It's how many thousand? Let's see how many Raiders season ticket holders. I'm put that out there. And I don't see a number popping up. Raiders closing on first ever season ticket sellout, and that was April 20. That was April. And let me put it this way: the reason why I'm asking is, let's say there's 20,000, right? Mark Bedane said that 1,100 season ticket holders made the trek to Vegas to see the new setup. That is not even 10% of the total. So, it isn't. So that spells bad for the future. And it's one thing for them to go and see it. It's another thing to buy, right? So, Kevin KD says, when the Raiders went to LA, how many Bay Area fans made the weekly trip to SoCal? I don't know the exact number to that at all. But I do know the number started dwindling over time. And winning is everything. For example, let's take the Las Vegas Golden Knights. Look, a large part of the reason that the Golden Knights are the darlings of Las Vegas in sports right now is because they're winning. And if the Raiders go into, well, first of all, here's the biggest problem of all, because my view of the deal has not changed. Documents are signed and all that, but my view of this deal has not changed. It is a bad deal. And the structures, the underpinnings of the problems of the deal still haven't gone away. For example, do you realize that we are now into 9 consecutive months of visitor losses in Las Vegas? 9 straight. That's right. It started back in June, and it's continued to February. Okay? And what I mean by that is where there were fewer visitors over those months than the previous year. And that hasn't happened in Vegas since the recession. And the relevance of the problem, if I haven't said this before, it bears saying again, is in the fact that the stadium tax of 88 100ths and 1% is not bringing in enough money. However, having said that, I am confident this is because the county has taken time to sell me. They have respected the fact that I've done a lot of work. They acknowledge that. And they've taken the time to explain in detail that they know I can handle, which I also appreciate. I wasn't being talked down to. I was given a level of detail and jargon that I'm used to. And basically, I'm not going to throw it all out at you. I'm just going to say it like this. If the market if this continues and the county cannot issue all the bonds to give the Raiders all the money they need, they won't. In other words, if they can't cover the debt service for a particular month, they're not going to put out money for that. They're not going to do that. Translation, the Raiders are not going to get all the $750 million up front. Okay, it'll be in tranches. Same with the Bank of America loan. That will not be up front. It'll be in stages. But the county is looking to and is very much interested in protecting itself because of the visitor problems I just told you about. I'm very happy to hear that. My only point to the county was, I made two of them consistently. I said, look, there's a visitor problem here. Here it is. It's in black and white, A. And then B, the Raiders have a history of filing lawsuits when they don't get what they expect. And they're not going to be nice to you and say, oh, it's okay. We understand that, maybe you miscalculated, because the county, by Jeremy Aguillo, set itself up in a position where it was guaranteeing the ability to cover the bond issue. But the real story is it's not guaranteeing that at all. Okay? It's not. So, so anyway. Hey, Barry Lee, you're out? Okay, good night, man. I'll see you. Oh, wait a minute. And so, yeah, the non-relocation agreement's been signed by Rick Gray. The agreement does not take in effect until the stadium is complete. All right? Hey, the barber, how are you? The barber says, I've been a season ticket holder since 1995. Once they're not in Oakland anymore, I'm done with the NFL. Rave Scripts is more interested in AFF now. Don't care much about the Raiders. Gotcha. And Kevin KD asks, why would Mark Davis sign the documents now with the tax subsidy clearly underperforming? Because the Raiders, for the same reason that the Raiders signed a PSL agreement without having a clear market study. As long as they feel, the Raiders are going to work like this. They feel they have a guarantee from Clark County. If, for some reason, that money doesn't come, the Raiders will do two things. First of all, there's a provision where they can privately finance all or part of the stadium beyond, all right? That's in there. Didn't know that, did you? It's there. A. B. My contention is the Raiders will try to sue Clark County to get part of that private financing money to pour back into the stadium. They will say, hey, look, you owe us this because you promised. And then they're going to run Jeremy Aguillo making that statement where I'm confident we can make this, blah, blah, blah. And I told the Clark County Minders, you should not do that with respect to the Raiders, because if this doesn't work properly, they will use that video against you. And frankly speaking, they'll be right to do so. Okay, that's the other part of it. They'll be right to do so. The county has assured me they have no intention of basically paying what they can't afford. Okay. Let's see here. Race Group says, I'm legitimately happy to see that there are fans who have stopped watching the NFL altogether once the Raiders leave. It shows that you have a backbone, which is rare these days. Yeah. And Kevin KD asks, what did Clark County get themselves into? Man, oh man. Yeah. Donna says, don't give up the fight. I don't think anyone's given up any fight, Again, the finishing of the documents is an artificial signpost, But my concern for the Raiders is that this thing is going to reach in terms of cost increase beyond what they can afford. And I say to anybody watching this that you should look at this deal and you should watch every aspect of it like a hawk. Here's why, okay? And here's why. Hey, John Marks, how you doing? Oh, Kevin KD says, can they pay as low as $600 million or $550 if they can't afford? Yeah, they can. In fact, Kevin KD, if you go to Google and type Clark County Debt Policy 2017 and read it. On page 69, I believe it is where it said that Clark County will only backstop $650 million of the $750 million. The backstop means protect that amount in case there aren't enough taxes to, satisfy a bond issue of 750. They only cover 650, which means there's 100 million left over. Now they don't like that broadcast, but it's right there in black and white. Now another Clark County person says, well, over here on page 110 it says that we're going to do the whole 750. But they told Moody's they would only backstop 650, and the real story is that the deal is set up so that Clark County, under certain circumstances, will not have to pay that entire subsidy under certain market conditions. It's right there in black and white. The overall problem is the stadium tax is too small, and the reason is political. You have one of the worst education systems in the country in Nevada. They really, in terms of political timing, it's going to be interesting to see what happens on, I believe it was April 3rd, when they take up the bonds this week, because that is going to hang on the heads of those people running for governor who sit on the Clark County Commission right now, specifically Christian Giuliani and Steve Sisolak. Will Jen Giuliani back it? What will she do? And so, that's the big question, because Sisolak's a clear proponent of it. He has been. But Jen Giuliani is really on the hot seat. And so Rick Gray says, didn't the price of the stadium go from $3.96 billion to $1.8 billion? That's more than $100 million they pinned over my. No, you're mixing apples and oranges there. The original cost of the stadium. In fact, you're right though. No, I stand corrected. It was originally set to be only $1.4 billion when you looked at the initial SNTIC documents, but then even during the SNTIC it increased. But the way it breaks down right now, by budget, as of February, before the steel tariffs, and keep in mind, folks, and I want you to really keep this in mind, it really has to be understood. The Raiders are still taking bids and will continue to take bids for various materials through August to, I think, October of this year, okay? So you heard the price, which was set originally in February, but that price is going to be adjusted and it's going to go up. Consider Caliche. You've seen those photographs where in the videos where they're exploding Caliche, okay? That's one sliver of Caliche among hundreds of thousands of tons of it around the property. If they're going to have to continue doing that at various points during the construction process, if they didn't properly diagnose the land, okay? And remember that it took 7 months of analysis of the land before they were able to get going last year. Everyone kept saying, what's the delay, what's the delay, what's the delay? And I got an email from a guy who I believe was working on a project, who was a longtime stadium engineer, who told me that the Raiders were fishing around for a cheaper analysis of the land that they could do. That's dangerous, because there's always saying you get what you pay for, right? If they got an analysis that was favorable and cheaper, it could very well mean that as the bids come in and they need to do additional foundation work, they may have missed something that causes them to have to explode more caliche, which means more cost and delays. That's the situation that's set up here. And I think it's a key reason why NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell said at the press conference, when he talked about the stadiums, he talked in glowing terms about Los Angeles. But when it got to Las Vegas, he said Las Vegas is, and I quote, digging a hole. Okay. So let's see, get your comments here. John Mark says, Rave scripts, they might be after what I'm about to do. Kevin KD says, Corey Brown, if only UNLV held their ground, and they didn't. And Corey Brown says, and I think quite correctly, Vegas equals the end of the Raiders as we know them. Yeah, $75,000 PSLs, it's ridiculous. And what I think is happening is I think the Raiders know They're not going to get sellouts, and so they're basically setting the prices to be able to get money that from fewer people to offset the stadium lack of visitation they're going to get after the euphoria dies down. They're going to people who want to be there the first year or the first season. They're going to pay, you know, maybe pay a premium. This is a test of what people actually pay. But beyond, but if the Raiders go into Las Vegas and they're not winning, if they take a losing team into Las Vegas, then the high prices that they are advertising right now, unless they don't adjust them between now and then, are going to exacerbate the problem. It's not like there are people who just have to see the Raiders. And the other problem is that, as a friend of mine talked to me about, who's involved in this stuff, is that once you start adding more seats, we've got MSG Sphere coming in, we have an esports complex that was constructed in other facilities. You start to get to a point where you start cannibalizing seats. In other words, maybe Taylor Swift wants to play at the Raiders Stadium, but and there's MSG. So they start eating each other. Who wins? Who loses? Somebody loses. That's the situation that the Raiders are facing. And if they don't have a winner by then, it makes the situation that much worse, because there's not as much desire to go and see the Raiders, desire to see the stadium, but that wears off real quick, folks. It wears off real quick. So it used to be a 3-year novelty period. Now, in this day and age, it's on 1 year. And so you do have to be insanely rich. Hey, Albert, how you doing? And Kevin KD says $31 billion net worth could have kept them in Oakland for 1,000 years. Laugh out loud. Quite true. Quite true. So I want to talk about how the A's, basically on that context, embarrassed the Raiders last week with their offer to buy the Coliseum for $135 million and pay off the remaining bonds. No organization in Oakland history, no sports organization has ever done that, ever. They have never stepped forward and made a monetary commitment to Oakland, and everyone loves it. That's all the Raiders wanted. Now, see, and here is how badly it makes the Raiders look. The Raiders said to anybody who would listen, oh, hey, one reason that we want out of the Coliseum is they promised to give us the land. No, to give. That's in black and white. Give us the land for nothing. And they were upset it wasn't given to them. By stark contrast, the A's aren't saying, give us the land. They're saying, we will buy it. And I was under the impression the NFL wanted to buy the land. And I remember asking Eric Grubman, I think this is on video, how much the league would pay. And he didn't give me a straight answer. And I later found out it was going to be like $1. Come on. That's ridiculous. Okay? I had said to anybody, I said to Ronnie Lott by email, I said, hey, look, call their bluff. Give them the land and then work a deal to get your money back, through revenue. See if they sign that. Okay? But see, with the Oakland A's, you don't have that problem. They are saying, hey, look, we want to buy this, period. This is even new for the A's. Lou Wolf didn't do this. Lou Wolf was trying to get, money from the public trough, too, when he was the managing partner for the A's. So this is a brand new day in Oakland sports. And it's a perfect demarcation point. If you want to talk about anything that has changed the city of Oakland's relationship with the Raiders forever, it's what the A's did. The A's purely punked the Raiders. They embarrassed them. In much the same way that they trolled the Raiders. They trolled the Raiders in the way that they trolled the Giants online when they were teasing them about, tickets and everything. Basically, the A's trolled the Raiders in the worst way possible. Straight up, okay? And John Marks asked, why couldn't the Raiders have done this? And they could have. But see, that's why, some people would call the Raiders of the public trough. You know, that that's it. All right. But yeah, the Raiders got, as Savage just says, he says the Athletics are a joke. They care about fans, and what he says, but play to lose. They love Oakland, yet they want it out, but they don't want out now. And here's the thing. Uh, Savage 40. This is a new guy. I know who this is. Oh, well, anyway. Corey Brown says, well, the A's technically have brought more championships to the house than the Raiders. All right. And so, and I remind everybody who's talking about the A's, that was under Wolf. This is the Dave Cavall era. And Cavall is serious. He is seriously moving forward to build a stadium in Oakland at the Coliseum. There is a caveat, however. There is a little thing. I reported last week through a source that there were 2 tech companies that were interested in paying more for the site. We now know that one of them is Tesla. Okay. The question is, can Tesla and the Oakland Athletics exist on the same site? And hey, it's a good question there. I think someone needs to reach out to Elon Musk and say, hey, look, can you help us keep the A's and develop something at the same time? What do you want to do? And it's an interesting question because Tesla has their own problems with the Model S, right? Black Lion Supreme says they should have given the land to the Raiders. The NFL teams are a rare breed. It gets down to or lay down where we'll take their ball and go home. Well, my point is this. The A's have proven that there are sports organizations that have the money to buy. And look, you don't give land outright. You set it up so you can get your money back in some kind of way. What I was proposing, I was trying to explain this to Ronnie Lott, is you set up a deal where you're giving them the land, but you have a locked-in revenue pledge to get what would be equal to the value of the land back in revenue from what they build on it, okay? So basically, it's kind of like a loan system, all right? So basically, you're getting your money in some kind of way. They're giving it to you. It's a little bit of a trick. That's what I was proposing. Ronnie didn't like the idea. He says, are you crazy, man? I said, no, I'm not. Call their bluff. Do it. John Mark says, can Libby Schaff still sell the land to the Raiders? Well, why would you want to sell land to anybody for $1 when somebody else is offering it for $135 million? That doesn't make any sense. The A's have changed the game. The A's have made the Raiders look bad. The A's have made the Raiders look bad because you have the Raiders not only being trolled by the A's with this deal, but then setting themselves up for a situation where, hey, look, the county of Clark County, Nevada, in order to protect its own taxpayers, may not give the Raiders all the public money they seek. And it is public money. I don't care if you say it's hotel tax money or whatever. They don't want to dip into their general fund. All right? So, Savage says, I'll be honest, I support the Athletics. Do I watch baseball every day? No, but this is about money. Just look at the opening day. The stadium was empty. Baseball is done. The NFL draft has more views. Actually, NFL draft views are dwindling. Baseball actually has done better statistically in terms of media than it has in a while. And I was surprised to learn that. Otherwise, I'd agree with you. But a new stadium draws. And I think with what Cavall wants to do with the A's there, with the Coliseum Village there concept, I think we'll draw quite a few people. I really do. It's not right or fair to judge the Athletics by what is there now. You have to think in terms of what's possible. John Mark says, I agree, and he kicked the Raiders to Vegas. Yeah, and I'm saying, hey, look, if the Raiders need to be in a position where they are doing deals and showing respect for the community, not just for themselves. And that's my personal opinion, okay? And I think that the Raiders should be in a position where they're scared. They're like, hey, look, are we going to be evicted? Where are we going to play? We don't know. And then they start turning around and making deals that show respect for Oakland. And if they want to pay, pay. But I'm telling you, they're going to pay a lot of money because of how they treated Oakland. There are a great many people who are angry. When I shared what happened to me, there were a number of officials who said, "Hey, look, welcome to my world." And I remember when Mayor Schaaf told me a couple of years ago that Mark Davis wasn't returning her phone calls. There's been a consistent line of disrespect here that's just got to stop. We're only human beings. People just want to be treated properly. There's nothing wrong with that. And no one has, anything against Mark at all, ever. What we're talking, and in my case, as a guy who's been around the NFL for a long time, I don't feel, and I feel I have the right to say this, that what the Raiders are trying to do is in the best interest of the National Football League. I think they're really harming the Shield in a lot of different ways, okay, with this. And it could wreck the NFL as we know it. It's sending a signal that the NFL is for the rich fan, not for the middle class fan that built the Raider brand. Okay? And I'm not even trying to imply I'm pointing at the 49ers. No, this is a price point that you wouldn't even see in the Bay Area. Okay? So what the Raiders are doing will wreck not just the NFL, the black hole fan base, the Raider fan base. It'll significantly wreck the National Football League. It really will. So Kevin KD says, rich people don't go to sports events, they go on vacations. He says Coliseum land is crucial to keeping football in Oakland. Yeah, of some type, okay? Black Lion Supreme says, this is a power move by billionaires who want a team in Vegas, one who wants to leave the Raiders to his children. Yeah, and even though I wrote this as a kind of April Fool, right? So it was an April Fool story. Again, it's rooted in a powerful reality of events that took place that lay the foundation for that outcome in the future. It really does. So, but again, I say this, okay? Joseph says, when are the Raiders expected to leave? They should kick them out. Well, this is the last year. But right now, the Raiders have a drop dead date of June 30th, unless the JPA votes to move that drop dead date up, and they very well may want to do that, in part because of the A's offer. I think politically there is a desire to wipe the slate clean, give the A's what they want to buy, and start a new chapter of sports relationships in Oakland. We really do need a reset because we have had not just years but decades of disrespect. I mean, you can go all the way back to Frank and Muley not naming the Warriors the Oakland Warriors and calling them Golden State rather than Oakland. Just because Oakland's a black town doesn't mean it has to be disrespected, and yet that's precisely what has happened again and again and again. And at some point, you've got to say, stop. Okay? This should be that year where Oakland says, enough. We're not dealing with it anymore. We're going to work with the A's who want to buy the land. We're going to work out something that when they buy the land, it's still a civic gift. In other words, the A's don't buy the land and then decide that they're going to do something that may be of harm to the citizenry, all right? And what that could be is any number of things. You need to really sit down and flesh that out. But I don't think the A's want to do that. And so Kevin KD says, but this wreath said is the after departure of the Raiders and the Warriors. That's correct, it is. And I hate to put it that way, but again, the Warriors didn't want to be here. They could have spent their money here. They spent their private money in San Francisco, not here. The Raiders chose to entice a government to give them, it would seem right now, we haven't had the vote yet, a lot of money with protections. And yet the Bay Area is a very rich region. And the Raiders didn't choose to stay there, and the Warriors didn't choose to take their private money and invest it in Oakland, which they very well could have done. Now, the Warriors' argument, I think, is a good one. They said that the late San Francisco Mayor Ed Lee, rest in peace, friend of mine, was aggressive in pursuing them, and he was. He was aggressive in a way that Oakland was not. And Gene Kwan, I'll never forget this. Gene told me at the Alsby Toklas Democratic Club breakfast. That's before Pride Parade. All right, and I'll say this too. No, I'm not gay, but if you want to be successful in politics in the Bay Area, you've got to go to the. If you're a Democrat, you've got to go to the Alsby Toklas Democratic Club breakfast. That's just straight out. That's tradition. Okay, anybody who's connected politically in the Bay Area has to go to that breakfast. Period. I was there. Rick Welts was there, who was president of the Warriors. I was there with my friend Beth Schnitzer, dear friend Beth Schnitzer. I had to call Beth. And sorry, I love Beth. Beth is just, she knows how I feel about it. But anyway, and I said, I was talking to Rick Welts about what he was doing and everything else. And they had set their sights on San Francisco, and Oakland didn't give them a counter. And at the same breakfast, Gene Kwan told me face to face she didn't get how popular the Warriors were. I kid you not. Now, she'll deny that to the cows come home unless she's really honest about her memory and say, yeah, I said that, it was a mistake. But she said that to me, and I was floored. But you had Ed Lee in San Francisco and Gene Kwan in Oakland, all right, at the time. And Ed saw the value of San Francisco, having the Warriors. Also, San Francisco, just very, from an economic development perspective, needed an event center to replace the Cow Palace. Didn't have that. Now we'll get that. We have an event center. We have Oracle. We were quite literally sucking the entertainment life out of San Francisco. Everyone's going over to Oracle, Warriors Arena to see concerts and everything else, right? Now San Francisco has something, and they're going to have a new area around it, very similar to what went on around the Giants Stadium, just up the block a bit, and it's going to be quite exciting. Separate for how I feel about what the Warriors did, I would be a complete fool, to express some sort of desire or idea that what they're doing in what we call the South Beach area of San Francisco down there in Mission Bay isn't going to be exciting, where it will be, straight out. No doubt about it. So there's, by the way, the Raiders do not have a lease extension for 2 years. They have it for 2018, and that's it right now. The whole purpose of negotiations was to extend it perhaps to 2020, but there is a desire among the JPA to, if the Raiders stay, milk them for all they're worth. That's sticking out there. That's where it's at. Okay? That's where it's at. And so the Raiders have taken now over a month to respond to the offer that the Coliseum Joint Powers Authority made. And I was told to tell the Raiders that when I was at the owners' meeting, his media is, hey, look, time's up. You've got until June 30th to respond, and we may move it up to May, the end of May. Okay? So that's where that sits. And if the Raiders don't respond, then the JPA will start planning for events or scheduled events where the Raiders would be at the Coliseum, and that'll be it. Bingo. Now, when that was done, it was prior to the A's saying, okay, hey, we're going to buy it. That was last week. Now, will the desire to kick the Raiders out be greater? The answer is yes. All right? John Mark says, can Coliseum City still do an NFL stadium with MLB options? If they sell it to the A's, I think it depends on how they sell, what parcel they sell, but the answer is basically yeah. Black Lion Supreme says, and there it is. If you don't lose two professional teams without some serious issues in leadership and a huge disconnection with the heart of the city. Yeah, but here's the thing, Black Lion. I remind you of something. No elected official has ever lost their job because they lost a sports team. Check it out for yourself. Keep that in mind. Not once. So, we can talk all we want, but you know what? Jack Hammer asks, is there a loophole in the non-relocation agreement for Raiders to return to Oakland in the future? There is a loophole, and it has to do with the fact that the non-relocation agreement does not name the holding company that the Raiders would be owned by. So, even though the non-relocation agreement speaks of Mark Davis or direct and indirect control, um, I think the non-relocation agreement needs to name the holding company. It does not. I'm going to talk to somebody who is a sports attorney and see how they look at it. But I know there are people in the county of Clark County who see that as not much of an issue as I do. But anytime you have two documents, you have the lease document that's worded. Anytime you have two documents within the total lease that are worded differently on one subject, that's a recipe for conflict. Just saying. It's a recipe for conflict. They should be cleaned up. So, yeah, they should be cleaned up. So that's it. It's 1:56, folks. I'm gonna cancel out here because I got no sleep Friday to Saturday because worrying about my mom and crying about my mom, to be honest. And it is 2 o'clock in the morning, and I need to get sleep. But anybody have any questions or pronouncements? I still have this full cup of coffee that I'm consuming. All right. I do want to say this though. Okay. Overall, I think what's happening in Las Vegas is quite exciting. Do I think it is enough to capture visitors again? No. It will be kind of this, all right? And I say that for this reason. People want to make money from casinos, and the problem when they go to a casino, the big problem for Las Vegas is that Las Vegas is pricing out the middle class person that will go there to, look, women, play slots. Folks like my mom who love to go to Vegas and Reno, they're losing them because the slots don't pay. All right, that's the biggest problem. And getting a high dollar organization like the Raiders to play football there is not going to solve that problem. The conventions, even though in February there were 100,000 more convention goers than the year before, it didn't translate in total visitors. So visitation fell off for February by 0.6% over the year before. It fell off in January. It fell off each month over the last 9 months, and it wasn't because of 1 October. 1 October just exacerbated that problem, but the structural problem was there. And then the casinos are jacking up the resort fees. So you've got increase in resort fees. You've got certain casinos, I'm not going to name which ones, that are not, the slots are just not paying, okay? And that dynamic, plus the fact that there's a tendency to jack up room rates whenever there's a big event like a convention or something, okay? That dynamic is hurting Vegas. And then you got to watch something else, folks. Japan. This year, maybe within the next month or two, 2 months, Japan will give the green light for gambling. Then when they do that, Las Vegas Sands is set to pay $5 billion to go in there. That's one more place that siphons off visitors from Las Vegas. I'm telling you, it's not the biggest sender of visitors Canada is, but little by little, by its own companies that built Las Vegas, Vegas middle class seed corn is being reduced. That, you say, what does that have to do with the deal? It means fewer hotel visitors, which means a negative growth in the stadium hotel tax rather than a consistently positive one. Bad situation. Very bad. So, bad situation. So, John Mark, Dean was, well, yeah, Raiders did sign all the agreements, but the non-relocation agreement does not kick in. It says in black and white until the stadium is complete. Okay, so right now the Raiders are still the Oakland Raiders until the stadium is finished and the certificate of occupancy is given, and then ting, the non-relocation agreement kicks in. There, okay. But what you Kevin KD says Canada is getting good tourism. No, Canada is sending people to Vegas, and you look at the statistics from the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority website. The biggest senders of people to Vegas internationally are the Canadians. Okay, yeah. So John Mark says, okay, I will say this. You guys remember time and time again, I was going to file an injunction. I'm done with the Raiders. I get you. All right. Yeah, Sweeney Sports Talk says some soccer team wants to buy the Coliseum site. I think they want to be part of it. They don't want to buy the whole one. I've got a call in to check on that. Jacob P says Raiders are going bankrupt. Mark is going to lose a team. That I could see happening. Unless, here's what I think. One thing that I think about is something that Jerry Jones told me face to face is that he thinks Sheldon Adelson will be a great owner of the Raiders. Of the NFL. He said that to me at that same Houston NFL owners meeting, the fall league meeting, where Mark turned his back on me, so I don't want to talk to you. You know, and that, and remember, Jerry's got more than a passive involvement in this Vegas deal with Legends. So could we see a situation where Jerry Jones carries the water for Adelson and his kids? Yeah, I can see that. Because, Jerry Jones was trying to get investors for Las Vegas while he was at the Combine. The Combine, according to ESPN, in 2016 in Indianapolis. So you had Adelson and Jones carrying water for Mark Davis. And I think it's because they see the Raiders. I think Jones sees the Raiders as an underperforming asset, and I think he may very well see a future where he believes that fantasy sports and gambling should be in the hands of somebody like Sheldon Adelson or his kids, or both. I believe that. So, and if you want to look at it blankly, Joe Santos, if Adelson really hated the deal, he would have instructed the Review Journal to say something negative about it. I don't care what anybody says. The Las Vegas Review Journal answers to its minder, and Rich Villota, those guys. Rich works for Sheldon Adelson. So does Ed Graney. Ed Graney specifically told me he can't talk about Adelson or he'll get fired. That same rule applies to all the people that write for them. Don't think for a moment that Adelson is really out of that. No. His fingerprints are all over this. He has paved the way for the Raiders, and the question you have to ask is, okay, now that he has not done anything to pull the plug on this deal, what does he want? There you go. All right, folks, I'm going to sign off. I didn't see Crawford. I'm going to wax on and wax off and say good night to everybody because I don't want it to turn into 3 o'clock. So I'll see you. I'll see everybody, all right? I'll see you guys, everybody. Thank you all for your questions, and thank you all for, as John Mark says, you can bet your last money. It's all going to be a stone gas on you. It's been love, peace, and soul. Crawford, thank you. More talk tomorrow. And thank you for your best wishes regarding my mom. I'm going to go down and see about her. Good night, everybody. Good night. Watch horror films. Keep America strong. And by the way, I'm going to, because I'll need to cheer myself up, I'm going to turn more to talking about entertainment, too. We got Lost in, do you know we got Lost in Space coming up on Netflix? Ooh. All right, I'll see you all tomorrow. See you guys. Thank you. Thank you for the prayers. Thank you. Much appreciated. God bless everybody. God bless you. Thank you. See you.